Okay, this is word problem number 20 from section 9.5, actually on page 435. I thought it would work kind of backwards on some of the problems, start with the higher ones. Okay, it tells us Rebecca has 45 coins total. And it tells us also that all she has is nickels and dimes. And it tells you that if you look at the value of what she has, the total value is $3.60. Okay, and they want to know how many nickels and how many dimes does she have. All right, so what we could do in a problem like this, if you see the numbers, you can make two equations based on the numbers you see. One is 45. If I let N be the number of nickels she has, and if I let D be the number of dimes, I can write an equation, because if you count how many total coins she's at, she's only got nickels and dimes, so the number of nickels, for your first equation, I'll call it A, could be the number of nickels, N, plus the number of dimes, D, is equal to 45. You can imagine sitting there, you got like 10, maybe 10 nickels and 35 dimes or something, that you'd say, oh, I got 45 coins in all. So you can kind of understand how that we get that equation. That has to do with how many coins she has. But then there's another number they give us, this 360, and it has to do with the value of the coins she has. So if you add up the value of the nickels, and if you add up and you can imagine doing this too. You could count how many nickels you have, and see how much they're worth, and then you could see how much your dimes were worth. Maybe you separated them into two piles, but when you add the amount that they're worth up, it's $3.60. Now let's look at the nickels. She has N nickels. We don't know how many there are. Let's think about the value of those nickels. Isn't each nickel worth 5 cents, right? So we could put 0.05 times N, because if you think about it, if you had one nickel, that'd be worth 5 cents. If you had two nickels, that'd be worth 5 cents times 2 is 10 cents. 3 nickels, 5 cents times 3 is 15 cents. But we don't know, so it's just 5 cents times the number of nickels N. Same thing with the dimes. Since the dimes are worth 10 cents a piece, if we knew how many dimes she had, we would just multiply the number of dimes times 10 cents, and we'd have the value of the dimes. So we come up with this equation here. We've got 0.05 N plus 0.10 D equal 360. That was one of our equations. And the other equation was N plus D is equal to 45. Now, these are our two equations. This would be really easy to do linear combination with, or adding the equations with, but we've first got to get them where we can work with them better. Look at the top equation there. If you don't like working with the decimals, just scoot the decimal place over 2 in each term. That's like multiplying each term by 100. So my new equation would be 5n plus 10d is equal 360. Now, if I want to put these two equations, I think this one was equation A on the other page here, and I think we called this one B. If I want to put these two equations to solve them, I need to get rid of a variable. So you want to know how many nickels you have and how many dimes you have at the very end, but right now we just want to get rid of one of them so that we can figure out the answer here. So let's do this. I'm just going to decide to get rid of the n's. So my first equation is n plus d. My second one is 5n plus 10d. If you look at those n terms, I have a positive 5 in front of the first n. If I had a negative 5 in front of that A equation, it would make them cancel out, because I want to have the same number, but I want to have the opposite signs. So I'm going to multiply the first equation by negative 5. So that would give me negative 5n minus 5d is equal to negative 225. And that's equation A. Now I'm going to recopy equation B. It's in red, so I'm just going to recopy it in red just so you see where I got it from. So 5n plus 10d is 360. Now, if I want to solve this, the n's are going to cancel out. I got negative 5d plus 10d. I could look at that as 10d minus 5d. It'd be a little easier to think about. So that would give me 5d. And then I got negative 225 plus 360. That's the same thing as 360 minus 225. And if you subtract that, you're going to get 135. Make sure that's right. Yeah, it is, okay? So if 5D is 135, if I want to solve for D and get it by itself, I could just come in and divide both sides by 5. And that would give me D equal 27. So I have 27 dimes. That's what that tells me. Now the easiest way for me to find how many nickels I have would be to go up here and say, oh, the number of dimes plus the number of nickels is 45. So if the dimes is D, N plus 27, because that's how many dimes we have, would be 45. So if I want the number of nickels, all I got to do is subtract 27 from 45. And you probably could have figured that out without even using that equation. So N would be, let's see, 18. There's 18 nickels. And that's all there is to that one. So those are your two answers. All right, if you look on page 434 at number 5, the length of a rectangle. Okay, so I'm dealing with a rectangle. I'm just going to go ahead and draw it. The length of the rectangle is, okay, so that's, let's call this the length, let's call this the width. Then we get this statement that the length is means equal. So let's kind of figure out what this means in math language. It's 5 more than, that means I'm going to add 5 to something. What am I going to add 5 to? It's going to go right here. 5 more than twice the width. Well, since I called the width W, let's call twice the width 2W. Okay, then it says the perimeter is, so that means equal, the perimeter is equal to 130, okay? And they want to know the area. In order to find the area, I know that I'm going to have to multiply the length times the width, but they want me to give them a number for it, and I don't have that yet. I do know there's a formula for perimeter, or I could just add all the sides together. There would be length plus length, which is 2 lengths, plus width, W plus W, which would be 2W, and in the end, that equals 130. Well, if you look what we've got right here, I could use substitution really easy on this one because the length is equal to 2W plus 5. So if I come over here, I can replace length with 2W plus 5. That's what substitution is. I'll write it in red just to emphasize where I got the information. Okay, then I've got plus 2W is 130. Okay, so I need to clean up this left-hand side. It's got lots of stuff going on, so let's simplify it. 2 times 2W is 4W. 2 times 5 is 10. And then I have 2 more W's. That's equal to 130. Well, 4W and 2W make 6W plus 10 is 130. Let's subtract 10 from each side. I'm out of room there, so I'm going to kind of come up here to work, okay? I'll draw a line here. So that would be 6W, because those 10s would cancel out down here, is equal to 120. And I can find the width by dividing both sides by 6. Oh, the width is 20. So now I know the width up here. I'll write it in a different color. It's 20. What's the length? Well, if you think about it, this blue length, it's really easy to figure out what it is here because it's 2W plus 5. So let me write that work over here. 2 times W, but we just found W. It's 20 plus 5. 40 plus 5 is 45. So my length is 45. But they wanted me, if you look at the question again, you got to make sure you answer the question that they asked. They didn't ask me for the length and the width. They asked me for the area. So if I'm finding the area, it's just length times width. Well, here's the two. Those length and widths are right here, aren't they? So I just need to take 20 and multiply it by 45. And when I do, that equals 900. So my area is 900 units squared. They don't tell me what it is, but that's how I could find it. I mean, the units are squared on it. So my answer is right down here at the bottom. Remember, if you're having trouble with this following it, because I know I'm kind of talking fast, but that's so I can fit more problems on the video. Remember, you can go rewind it and just take a little piece at a time and think about it and write it down. Then when you're ready, go on and write the next piece down and just keep stopping the video. I'm going to go ahead and do another one. Let's do number 11. 11's talking about movie tickets. We have children's tickets and we have adult tickets. In class we did this one. I just didn't have my iPad with me, so I'm just doing it now. I'm going to call X the number of child's tickets sold and Y the number of adult tickets sold, because what they asked me to do in number 11 is to tell how many children's tickets were sold, but they give me some other information, so kind of look for the numbers. First of all, they tell me that a child's ticket costs $2 and an adult ticket costs $5, right? So there's some information there that I can use. It also tells me the theater sold a total number of tickets sold was 785. Okay? And the total amount they collected was 3,280. So I'm going to use all this information. Each one of these numbers down here, the 785, oh, that didn't write, didn't catch, did it? That should be 3,280 here. So let me write over it. See if I can do it in black. 3,280. Okay? So here's all my information. How can I make equations out of this? Well, let's talk about the number of tickets sold. If X is the number of children's tickets sold and Y is the number of adult tickets sold, and I add them together, I should get that 785, because that's the total number of tickets I sold. So since we've labeled them with variables, we can write X plus Y equals 785. That one has to do with how many tickets they sold, right? But then they give you this other piece of information down there, this 3,280, and that's how much money they collected. And you can imagine doing this because a lot of you guys have helped with the bake sale and things like that, so you can imagine collecting ticket money. So every time a kid buys a ticket, isn't that worth $2 for each child's ticket sold? So that would be $2 for X, and X represents how many of them you sold. And the adult tickets are $5 a piece, so how much would you have collected from adults if you sold Y tickets? Well, if you think they're each $5, so you would have collected $5 for each ticket sold. So 5 times Y, since Y is the total number of adult tickets sold. Now, when you add that up, they said it added to 3,280. Now, you could do this with substitution, or you could do it with linear combination. Since the variables are so nicely lined up, I'm going to choose to do it with linear combination. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to get rid of my, let's see, no, I want to find X's, don't I? X is what I want to have, so why don't we get rid of our Y's? So let's get rid of the Y's. If I get rid of the Y's, I've got plus 5Y here and just a plus Y here. I want to get a 5 in front of that Y, but I'd like for it to be a minus 5Y, so they just add together and cancel out. So what I'm going to do, since I want a minus 5 in front of that first Y, I'm going to multiply everything here by negative 5. So that first equation becomes negative 5x minus 5y is equal to, oh boy, it's going to be a negative number, and I don't have a calculator, 5 carrier 2, 40, and 2 makes 42. Put on your 2, carrier 4. 5 times 7 is 35, and 4 makes 39. Okay, so that's my first equation translated, or multiplied by negative 5, and then I'm just going to write that second equation down. 2x plus 5y is 3,280. Okay, so now let's look at what we got here. This cancels out, the 5y's cancel out, and I'm left with negative 3x equal, and remember I've got a negative and a positive that I'm adding together, so I can just subtract the numbers and we take the sign of the biggest number. So if you could do it on a calculator, but since I'm not doing it on a calculator, I'll just say that's 645, okay? that'd be an 8, yeah, okay. So now if I want to find out what x is, how many children's tickets we sold, I could solve for x by dividing both sides by negative 3 to get rid of the negative 3. And x would be 2